So YouTube right now is a little bit strange because some folks are having problems seeing my videos pop up in their subscriptions, even though I'm uploading videos. So to help you guys out with that real quick, you have the subscription icon right here, and then next to it, there should be a bell. In fact, for all my videos, that should be the case. Subscribe, the bell right next to it. So if you're not subscribed, what you should do, subscribe, then you have the bell, you click on the bell, then you have notifications from King of Lightning, you click on that box right here, then you click on save, obviously. That should help you guys be far more aware of when I'm uploading videos to the channel. The King of Lightning is here today, bringing you guys and gals Kingdom chapter 504 review. Now, this chapter, relatively simple and straightforward, so we'll get down to the nitty-gritty here. The pacing and the structure, the characterization / character development, and then finally the story progression. So first and foremost, the pacing and the structure, which honestly is just 3 parts, but 2 of the parts are the same. And those 2 parts are just following the main ocean army as they march down to Retsubi. We get to see detachments take care of oncoming Zhao forces. So we have Kanki and his army, they're taking care of 5,000 cavalry of Zhao. Then you have Ohon and the Goku unit, they're also taking on a regiment of Zhao soldiers as well. So we see that for the first part of the chapter. Then we go over back to Qin, back to Sei, back to Shuei-kun and Shogun-kun and those cats, and they're hearing about the progress of the main army and how they're actually going to reach this certain city called Rodu, like a day earlier than they anticipated. So there's a part of the chapter which is fairly minor. And then we have the last part of the chapter, which is back to the main army where they're camped out. And they have Shin talking to Kyokai, talking to Tan. Basically, Shin and his lieutenants are having a discussion about what's going on here. And then finally, the main army does reach Retsubi, which is fairly large. It's actually a really big city. But then again, Tan did compare it to the Kankoku Pass of Qin. The city is huge. So when it comes to pacing, again, you have those 3 parts. Overall, relatively simple, straightforward, nothing too crazy there. Especially considering how 2 of the parts are basically just following the Qin army as they march to Retsubi. Now when it comes to part 2, the characterization and the character development, honestly this chapter has very little to offer. You do have Osin, who did reach this area a day earlier than anticipated by even Shoei-kun and Shomun-kun and those cats. Okay, fine. That just fortifies how good of a general Osin is. Then you have Shin, I think, make a lot more cognizant decisions. Let's not try and get involved with Kanki, what's going on with his men right now and how they're fighting this regiment of 5,000 Zhao cavalry. Let's continue on going with the main army because ultimately they got the short end of the stick. In order for this giant force to realize its true potential, certain sacrifices have to be made. The main force here, ultimately its goal is to capture Gyu. So if they overcommit to little stuff here and there, then they're not going to be able to reach Gyu in time, and then they're going to be bogged down at Retsubi and ultimately be forced back to Qin. So Shin is understanding that more and more. You see him slowly make these more rational decisions. That honestly is just the culmination of all the stuff that Shin's been through over the course of the series. Overall, nothing really big there either for Shin. There is a moment where you see Naki, he's like looking at his former army, the Kanki army, and he's reminiscing, I guess, about the good old days, and that's it. So I mean, nothing there for character either. He's just reminiscing, basically. Then there's Kyokai, who knew via like some kind of strange sixth sense of hers. I mean, this is not really new either, though, because she's done it before time and time again. But she knew that tomorrow is going to be the day where things were going to really start getting down. And then tomorrow came, and then they're at Retsubi already. So I wouldn't say it's characterization that's meaningful. I mean, it's more fortification for her insight. And that's really it. So all in all for characterization, nothing really here for this chapter, in all honesty. Moving on to the story progression where things are a little bit different. Number 1, once again, Kanki and his soldiers are taking on a regiment of 5,000 Zhao cavalry. Now, what surprised me was you didn't have, like, let's say the O clan just start clubbing these fuckers and like just plow through them because they can't afford to plow through them. I didn't think about that. When you see the Kanki army, they've made like a semicircle around this Zhao cavalry so the Zhao cavalry don't get close to the main force. All in all, the main objective here is for the main force to continue moving. If you have the O clan just bust through them, okay, fine. But you're gonna have these detachments attack the main army and ultimately slow down the main army. For the sake of the main army, they make a semicircle so these cavalry can't get into the main army. So when I read the previous chapter, I did not perceive that. But that is the right thing to do. There's a little bit of the new cats in the Haishin unit watching a battle for the first time, and it horrifies them, and they're scared, obviously. I mean, when you think about, like, Dukyo and, like, way back when, like, Shin's first campaign, when it was Bihei and his brother and whatnot, and how, like, remember Bihei, like, he was vomiting and throwing up when he was seeing these guys fight each other in, like, the midst of battle, like, do, like, these crazy things. I mean, that's the same thing here. Where, like, they're seeing about for the first time, they're seeing some of the worst stuff of humanity right in front of their eyes, and it's kind of like, shit. They have to get used to it, because these cats, especially the Bow brothers, absolutely, they're going to be quintessential for the Haishin unit down the road, absolutely. Moving on, again, we have these detachments that are leaving the main army, like the Goku unit. They're taking care of these Zhao regiments that are, you know, trying to stall them any way they can. But the main unit keeps on marching at a very smooth pace. The advancement of the Qin army was not halted at all, not even slowed down. Not even slowed down. You see how Riboku and company are hauling ass to get to the capital area to make sure that they can get an army to fortify Retsubi in time. No, not fast enough, dude. Not fast enough. Though, mind you, Retsubi's massive, and you can already see a large army from the gates. But we're just gonna send Yotanwa and the Haishin unit to deal with Retsubi. Now, that was cool. Oh, that was very cool. I like seeing that. Now it's Shin's time to shine. I want to see Shin use Oki's glaive in action, all right? And also get massive recognition. Him and Yotanwa sieging the equivalent version of the Kankoku Pass of Qin. That's absolutely huge. Yotanwa's army, Haishin unit, go. Take care of it. Now, the real question here is, what is Osen going to do as Yotanwa and the Haishin unit are sieging the Kankoku Pass equivalent of Zhao? What is Osen going to do? Now, I got a few thoughts on this, but that essentially is it for the story progression of the chapter, and overall the chapter is done right there from a review standpoint. But let me talk about a few things here. One of the key things that we have to understand here is not just the efficiency of the main army, but also the efficiency of the detachments as well. Let's say Kanki and his men are really bogged down when it comes to these 5,000 Zhao cavalry because they're highly motivated to defend their nation and so on and so forth. And Kanki winds up losing more men than anticipated. That ultimately is going to hinder the main army, is going to hinder their entire invasion. The same goes for Ohon as well. I'm hoping that the efficiency of the Kanki army, of the Gakuho unit, are efficient enough to where it won't be that much of a problem when it comes to returning to the main army, when they get there, and even beforehand, on the way there. Number two here, and this ties to what Ten said about how you have 3 armies in one, and each of these armies could handle a campaign like the Kokyo Hills. If Osen has sent Yotanwa and Haishin unit to deal with Retsubi, and there's no major army behind Retsubi, who's not to say that Osen is now going to be marching to Gyu? Like, go to Gyu right now. No hesitation at all. And if that is the case, that's, oh Christ, man. First of all, you're going to have the return of some of these detachments that are like a day or so behind, like the Kanki army, like the Goku unit. They're going to be coming back into the main fold. So you're going to have like a constant flux of Qin soldiers coming in. All the while, the Haishin unit and Yotanwa, they're going to be taking care of Retsubi. So if Retsubi's taken care of, then the detachments that are lagging behind can easily now get back to the main army. However, we also have to consider the possibility of things that are occurring that we haven't seen yet, like i.e. Riboku, and what is Riboku doing? If Osen does start marching towards Gyu, and it's just mainly his army, and like let's say the Moten unit and so on and so forth, they don't have as much as a force now. So would it really be in his best interest to just start marching towards Gyu, even though there's no army behind Retsubi? You're lacking the manpower that you had previously. Maybe you establish, like, let's say camp or like a perimeter once Retsubi is conquered. Because once the gateway is conquered, you have free range into Gyu. But timing is also of the essence from that standpoint as well, because there are cities behind Retsubi whatnot, so the main force of Qin may find themselves in a pincer between these smaller cities and these mid-sized cities behind them, and then this huge force that you know that Riboku is forming in front of them. So there's so many things that we are not aware of at this point in time, but there is a possibility that Osen and the main army just continue the march. And understand, it's not like the Kankoku Pass from a geography standpoint, because from a geography standpoint there was all these mountains and whatnot, and it made it very hard to move to like each of the side areas. It took like Riboku a lot of days and like very slow moving and sending small detachments here and there through the mountains in order to get to like the other gate area. In this case, Retsubi's open plains. I don't see any mountains to the side here. So there's no natural fortification. So if Osa wanted to get past Retsubi, I mean, shit, he already had scouts do that. He can easily go around it. Cakewalk. Cakewalk. Woo! So it depends on a lot of things here. So that being said, this chapter, I would say, is a good plus chapter. That's it, I'm done. So King Lightning, rate the video, comment, and subscribe as always. Give me your thoughts on the matter at hand. Peace. Have a nice goddamn day.